Welcome to the Coaches Show. My name is Guy Danhoff, and we are here for week 2. I'm joined with, obviously, our head coach, Coach Jason Burianek. And Coach, we have to start with, let's talk about last Saturday, the big win here at home at Spartan Field. Full capacity, over 1,000 people here in the stands and certainly on the sidelines in front of us. We also had, I think, a record number of nearly 2,000 people listening in on the live stream on the Spartan Digital Network. So, Coach, we have to ask the obvious question. What did it feel like coming off the field?
Well, it felt great. Was really excited for the guys and the work that they put in. Really proud of the coaching staff. I thought they did a great job of preparing them throughout training camp and getting ready for this week 1 game. Obviously, week 1 is a big week, a week that we haven't been successful on yet in our history. So that was something that we talked a lot about, and it was just a great night. Everybody, kudos to everybody that was a part of it. On down to the cheer squad, the band, and you guys, all the administration. I know it takes a lot of work, but it was a great night. The fans were great. We had a great number of alumni that came out, and the compliments that I heard from the alumni afterward, they were just so proud to be a Spartan, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And with that, just kind of give us what it felt like to run onto the field, because this was the very first fall football game in our history right here on our field. What was it like having Kevin Good and just some of those other Spartan greats that were here from the 2014 season, especially through 2017?
Well, it was really special for me, and I hope it was special for them as well, because I just feel so strongly how important they are to building to get us to where we are. They went through a lot and held on. It wasn't easy starting a brand new program and playing at CBC to where we now have our own stadium, and the process that it took to get there and the work that they put in. So Kevin is the only guy out of 42 guys that we brought in that was surviving that 2013 class, and there was a number of guys that were part of that 2014 first year and on down. But to have him lead them out and have those older guys really kind of get the break in the middle was really special, and never forget it.
Well, with that, let's talk about some of the high points. This past week, we have the Mid-States Players of the Week. We have Zach Kern on the defense, your linebacker, who got that award. And, of course, also on special teams, your punter, who Gavin Cloud.
Yeah, Claude.
Claude. I don't have Kevin Paulus here to help me with the pronunciations because we have that nice guide, which we don't have today. But anyways, yeah, Gavin did a great job with 2 punts inside the 20. But I would say I thought one of the plays of the game was a snap that went over his head. Somehow he catches it and still gets the punt off to keep them from what could have been a game-changing situation.
Yeah, that definitely was one of the plays of the game. It could have swung momentum in a big way. It was 17 to 7, I think, at the time, or 17. Yeah. And so, we were punting. They potentially could have had the ball inside our 30. Instead, he's able to turn around, catch it one-handed, and still get the punt off and put the ball inside their 20. I mean, that was just a tremendous play, especially for a freshman, that he didn't panic at all. He just kind of turned around, caught the ball, and spun and punted. So he was an all-state punter in high school, and not really something that I think we really even focused on throughout the recruiting process, but he's doing a great job and going to get a little more time at wide receiver now as well. But he's just a guy who I think is going to be a tremendous athlete for us in so many ways as we move forward, and he's just a freshman. So.
Well, what was really interesting is your quarterback, Josh Munn, did say that we've got a great punter, and he's really glad to see certainly Gavin step up in a big way to have a great game.
Yeah.
Speaking of your quarterback, let's talk about Josh for a second. Early in the contest, they went up 7-0 on a pick six. Was somewhat telegraphed on that particular throw. But after that, talk to us what it was like when he came off the sideline. You were talking to him. Coach Schnabel was talking to him. The Spartans went back out, and it didn't seem like it fazed them. And, of course, that's when the offense really kicked in the gear as he had 3 touchdowns on the game.
No, I thought Josh handled that moment really well, and that was really nice to see, because something we've talked to them a lot about, and you'll probably hear me say it throughout the year on the coaches show is just being a neutral mindset. Always just be focused on the next play. And something we talk about is like, look, you got to own the past, you got to own the mistakes that you make, but you can't let it affect your next play and your next decision. So I thought he rallied really well. There was no panic on the sideline. I think part of it was, it was early in the game.
Absolutely.
And the tough part was we had put a really good drive together.
Right.
And, some of that was just wide receiver and him. The wide receiver didn't quite get the depth that we needed and got a little excited. And Josh probably stared it down a little bit too much. But give credit to the corner. He made a nice break and finished. But, I was really proud of how everybody handled it.
Right.
And we just kept moving and knew that there was a lot of game left. And I think offensively they had a lot of confidence because they did move the ball down. And so it was like, look, we know we can do this and we just need to regroup and keep going. And they did a great job of it.
Well, with that, speaking of that, let's just talk about your offensive line because we have been highlighting all through the fall camp report. They delivered as promised. They just really, especially as the game came on, especially in that fourth quarter, kind of took it over. I mean, just their will themselves and seeing the linemen get so pumped up. And it led to Ronald Allen, your number 2 running back, had an incredible day. He had 121 yards. He had a touchdown. He averaged 6 yards per carry. Coach, speak about the dynamic of, Ronald stepping up, coming in. I know you guys are changing the backs out. I mean, I know that's part of the game plan, but what was it like, especially in that fourth quarter when you could just be milking that clock? Your play clock starts at 40. You're running the plays down to 2 seconds, and yet you're getting 6+ yards per carry out of him.
Well, that's how you finish ball games.
Right.
It just is that simple and something that we have to do throughout the course of the season. It was good to see it on that night. It was our offensive line. They just kind of said, put the game on our shoulders, and that's what you want to see. When you have the lead, sure, you have to throw it every now and then. And I thought Coach Schnabel did a great job on a third down, calling a rollout that we hit triplet on a big play, but then went right back to the run game. And if you can work that and be getting those kind of runs late in the fourth quarter, it shows a couple things. Number one, that we were in shape, we were ready to play, and that we were kind of imposing our will on them. And at that point, you can really just end games. And that's what they did. When we were able to punch the ball in with a minute and a half left or a little right around there and go up 31-14, that just makes everything so different. Their mindset changed. You saw as they got the ball back, they ran a couple plays and were content on running the clock out and getting out of here. Versus if we don't score and turn the ball over, who knows? They might go into a 2-minute situation because now it's they're potentially in the game still. So very, very impressive. I thought Ron had a great game. I thought all the backs really did a good job. And what we're able to do is kind of ride the hot hand. We've got versatile guys, and Ronald showed that he can be a really tough back in this league.
So let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, let's talk with Zach Kern. What did you see out of Zach? Because he obviously had a career game.
Yeah, Zach, man, I'm really proud of Zach because, he first of all, he stepped in, with Colin Thomas being out in the game, and Zach kind of got that call, hey, you're moved up to the ones early that week, and I'll make no bones about it. On Tuesday night's practice, I mean, I was on his case, bad, really bad. And, a lot of the reason is because I know so much of what he's capable of. I mean, Zach's a 3.95 student. He graduated. He's in grad school program right now. I mean, he's extremely smart, extremely athletic, and I was just on him. And some of that was to get him ready for Saturday. But, as the week went on, he just got better and better and better throughout the week to where, the thing that I told him was, I don't know if I trust you right now. That he totally took that away. He just locked in, moved forward, and got better throughout the week, and then showed it on Saturday night. It was awesome to see, and I'm really proud of him.
I think we all are. I can tell you that because I've had him in class. He was also our outstanding Student Achievement Award winner for all sport management majors a year ago, and I've had him do presentations, same kind of thing. He's a very quiet person. Yeah. But when it's time to perform, I mean, he's going to step up and bring it, and certainly did that Saturday. A few other.
The only person that was more proud of him was our running back coach.
I would say so. No bias there. All right. Let's talk about some of your big boys up front, Ramsey and Leonard. I mean, what more can you say? They just were wreaking havoc the whole game.
Yeah. Well, Raekwon is who he is. He's a really good athlete.
Yep.
When he's able to pass rush, and I thought he did a good job in the run game as well. But LaDorian Leonard's a guy who came in as kind of a 2, but he really shows and continues to show that he's really competing for that number 1 spot, and that he's going to get a lot of time. So he's extremely athletic and strong inside, and did a great job throughout the night. But I thought our defensive line did a tremendous job across the board. We did a really good job of stopping the run, held them to under 100 yards rushing, and anytime you can do that, you're giving yourself a really good chance to win, and especially a team like Lyon who wants to run the ball.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, he's picking up from where he left off in the spring, and that's your All-American from last year, Jalen Cowley, JC. Again, another All-American type of performance, and what more can you say about him? It's amazing different looks and places that you play him, and yet number 7's name's popping up. Would you like to speak to how you guys actually figure out where to play him?
Well, I think when somebody, and Coach Bowden said this a lot, think players, not plays.
Right.
And so, how can we put our players in a position to make plays? And it doesn't matter who they are, but obviously JC's a guy who we trust. He's got an extremely high football intelligence.
Yep.
We're trying to do what we can to put him in position to make plays, and he made plays. He wasn't perfect. Obviously, there were some opportunities. They took shots at him, but he was able to, get the incompletion, get the pass breakup, you name it. But he's a guy that, we can count on back there, and I thought Rod Smith played really good next to him. The biggest thing back there is that you're communicating.
Right.
And that's what we've been on him throughout, whether it's a linebacker, corner, safety, we're communicating. Jalen's back there making a lot of the calls.
Right.
So we may make a call, but he's going to put us in a call that fits the circumstance based off what we've been telling him throughout the week. And him and Rod did a great job of that.
Well, all I can say is JC, again, just so solid. And you can see the communication from even all the way up here in our vantage point as we make the calls. So let's talk about, the other aspect of your kicking game. You got another freshman, Jonah Cox. Didn't realize you'd have to be using him as a tackler as well. He did get credit for a tackle.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm sure Coach Kern and you guys are going to work all that out. But let's talk about your kicker. You made some big kicks, some extra points, including a field goal. And speak to what you thought Jonah Cox did Saturday.
No, I thought he had a good night. That's what we need from him. There was, one occasion where he missed the kick, and we got bailed out because we had actually had a false start.
Right.
But that kick really was more on the holder than on Jonah.
Right.
We just didn't get the ball down the way it needed to be for him. And but I thought he had a really good night, especially for his first outing. He had gone through a little bit of mental block where he wasn't quite as consistent in practice. So I thought, I was really impressed and proud of how he kind of regrouped and gathered and was really good on game day. Obviously, the kickoffs was something that we have talked to him about, of making sure we get it placed a little bit different, and we got to do a better job covering. But, by and large, I thought he had a really good night.
It seemed like, though, when he was kicking from the right to left, he had a little wind. I mean, he was very consistent in bombing them inside the 7-yard line.
Yeah, and that's going to be who he is,
Yeah.
And as he goes through, he's a young guy, so as he goes through and continues to develop that strength in his legs, he'll be continually putting the ball further and further down the field, and ultimately that's what we need. We need a guy who can, get the ball in the end zone, and that way we don't have to worry about a return, and can go line up and play ball. But that's just something that'll come over time. But overall, if he can be consistent on the extra points and field goals, that's a weapon right there.
Absolutely. So with that, let's focus on your opponent ahead of you. You're going to be traveling about 3 hours away to Iowa at Iowa Wesleyan. It's going to be a 3 p.m. start this Saturday. And this past week, they played St. Ambrose, and they ended up losing 45-13. And they are pretty much known for the passing, as you like to say, the air raid.
Yeah.
So if you could enlighten the Spartan fans, what is the air raid?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was kind of telling you a little bit off camera, but Iowa Wesleyan, believe it or not, even though they're a really small school in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, they have a rich history in football. And Guys like Hal Mummy, who have gone on and coached all the way up into the NFL ranks, and Mike Leach, who was at Texas Tech when I was a player, went on to Washington State. I want to say he's at Mississippi State now, but the spread out 4 wide receiver offense where they're running a lot of crossing routes. That's kind of what has been dubbed the air raid offense, and those guys were at Iowa Wesleyan in the late '80s, devising this plan because they didn't have as good of players, and they knew they had to kind of spread it out and start doing things to hurt defenses, and had success and have taken it a long ways. And their new coach is kind of staying with that. They like to throw the ball a lot. They're successful at it. So we've got to be very dialed in our pass coverage this week. And obviously we need to stop the run, but I think this week it's going to be one of those situations where we've got to be able to stop the pass and keep the yards off in that sense.
Well, historically speaking, over the last few years, I mean, the Spartan defense against the pass has been ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate, and I honestly think that that's been a lot due to some of the guys that we have out there.
Right.
And one of the things that we've really talked about right now is that we've got to make the quarterback throw into tight windows. And sure, it might be a completion, but they're going to have to earn it. And, and I can tell you, every day that we go out and we practice stuff, I think the linebackers and the secondary and the corners, we're doing a lot of stuff together in practice. And it's tough on Josh every day because we're giving him tight windows. They're starting to pick up on the basics that we're teaching, and it's fun to watch. It's really fun to coach and see how they continue to get better and better every day. So if we can give this guy some tight windows and make him earn the throws, I think we'll be all right. And so that's going to be the game plan.
All right, with that, kind of my last question is going to be, tell us and give us an update on Anthony Talley. I know you said last week, he was dealing with some surgery from the off season, and now he's into kind of working with the trainers on his comeback. And how's that progressing?
Yeah, it's progressing really well. He was in helmet and shoulder pads this week. I think we can start progressing him through the bye week to where hopefully we can have him back for Madonna. Obviously, there's a few things from an eligibility factor that we're having to go through just because of him being out of school with COVID and then the surgery and everything. So we just have to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's on a few of the eligibility stuff. But I think that if all that stuff checks out, that there's a really good chance that he'll be back for Madonna, and that would be a huge boost, because I can tell you right now, nobody on our team wants to tackle that guy, and he is a freight train right now. So it'd be great to see him back out there, and he'd be a huge addition to our offense.
I told him to look at old footage because they wear the same number. When he played was the Hall of Famer from the NFL, Mike Ditka.
Yeah.
Because Ditka just ran over people. I mean, that's what Talley does, and it's kind of interesting some of the parallels into Talley's style of playing back with Iron Mike.
Well, it is a little bit I get a little bit nervous for our guys because the one thing that's crazy is when he played the last year he played, which I guess would have been 2019.
Correct.
He was about 245, 250, had great hands, moved well. He hasn't lost anything in his hands. He hasn't lost anything in his athleticism or speed, and he's 275 now. So you put 275 with just that mean streak, want to run you over attitude, and there's not a linebacker or a DB that's really going to want to take that on. So I know we need to get him out there. I'm excited to get him out there, but it's definitely fun to watch him in helmet and shoulder pads right now and watch him kind of get back into the flow of things.
Well, I think of the week, Madonna, Guy Cam might have to make its appearance and do a little spotlight on him during practice that week, so we'll do that. And then, Coach, the last thing is going to be let Spartan fans know we're going to be having the homecoming game, and that's going to be on October 9th. And before that, though, is going to be the Hall of Fame banquet, and there's going to be 4 new inductees into the Missouri Baptist University Athletics Hall of Fame. And you can go ahead and get tickets now and just go by mbuspartans.com, and you can get those at that time. And I know we're not too far away, Coach, but there's going to be at least a Spartan football player someday, going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not going to ask you who you think it's going to be, because I know it's totally unfair. But what does it mean to you to think that soon someone from your program will be in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, it's exciting. That's a big deal to be in a Hall of Fame at a university or any Hall of Fame.
Right.
So no, it'll be exciting when that day comes. And I'll be excited to be able to be a part of that with whoever that
Right.
person is. You
Right.
know, obviously we don't know who that is.
Right.
Really not up to me per se,
Right.
but there's a whole committee that does that. But it is exciting that we're kind of nearing that point.
Well, I'll say this because it wasn't too long ago when lacrosse had their first inductees in the Hall of Fame, and just the excitement and having yet another sport represented, and of course football not too far off. And it's really great what Doctors Tom Smith and Olive Lux is doing over there with the Hall of Fame. I think it's one of the best events we put on our campus, and
Yeah.
it's amazing how many sports and how many athletes get honored, and all the All-Americans and all the team accomplishments. I mean, it really is. It's truly a remarkable event. And I love especially seeing all the Spartan players all dressed up.
Yeah, no, it's a great night. It's a great night. So if, I would recommend people come in and support, and it's a great way to support the university and the athletic department in the process. And, Tom and Adam Sampson, all those people do
Right.
a great job putting it on. And I know, Chelsea Beanie, who is really kind of drives that department as Tom's administrative assistant, she puts in a ton of work and doesn't get a whole lot of credit all the time, but she does a great job.
Yes, absolutely. So with that, Coach, we want to wish you all the best this Saturday at 3 o'clock for the kickoff as you take on your Week 2 opponent, which is going to be Iowa Wesleyan, and we want to wish you the best against the air raid offense.
Yeah, the DBs better be ready to go.
They better be, for sure. And so for Coach B, I'm Guy Danhoff. We want to thank you for watching the Coaches Show right here on the Spartan Digital Network.